Germany, 1922. Hidden deep in the countryside, far from the nearest village, stood a remote farm known as. It was quiet, isolated, the kind of place where nothing ever happened. But in the days leading up to the tragedy, something felt wrong. The family living there began to notice strange things. Footprints in the snow, leading toward the house. But none leading away. Unexplained noises coming from the attic, as if someone was moving above them. And then, the most disturbing detail of all, someone had been inside the house. Watching. Waiting. The family reported these incidents, but no one could have imagined what was coming next. Because soon, every person on that farm would be found dead. And the killer, never caught. This is the story of one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in history, where the horror didn't begin with the murders, it began days before, when something was already inside the house. Germany, 1922. Far from the nearest village, surrounded by dense forest and open fields, stood a lonely farm known as. It was quiet, too quiet. The Gruber family lived there, Andreas, his wife Kazalia, their daughter Victoria, her two young children, and a maid who had only recently started working on the farm. Life there was simple, but isolated. No close neighbors. No easy way to call for help. Just long days of work, and even longer nights of silence. But something about that place felt wrong. Weeks before the murders, Andreas Gruber made a strange discovery. Footprints in the snow. They led from the forest, straight to the house. But there were no footprints leading back. At first, it didn't make sense. Had someone approached the farm, and never left? Andreas searched the property, checking the barn, the yard, even the surrounding fields. Nothing. No sign of anyone. But the feeling didn't go away. Soon after, more unsettling things began to happen. Strange noises echoed from the attic late at night. Tools went missing, only to reappear later. And one day, a set of keys completely vanished. The family grew uneasy. The previous maid had actually quit suddenly, claiming the farm was haunted. She said she heard footsteps and whispers in the night. No one took her seriously. But maybe, they should have. Because whatever was happening at Hinterkaifeck, it wasn't stopping. It was getting closer. And the family had no idea, they might not have been alone. March 31, 1922. The day passed like any other at the remote farm of. Chores were done. Animals were fed. The sun slowly disappeared behind the trees, leaving the farm in darkness once again. Inside the house, the family settled in for the night. Nothing seemed unusual. But somewhere in the silence, something was waiting. One by one, members of the family were drawn to the barn. We don't know why. There were no signs of panic. No evidence of a struggle outside. Just the terrifying fact that they went there, alone. And that's where it happened. In the darkness of the barn, an unknown attacker struck. Silent, precise, ruthless. Each victim was killed one after another, with no chance to escape. No time to warn the others. But the horror didn't end there. After the killings in the barn, the attacker entered the house. Inside were the youngest members of the family. Defenseless. What happened next turned this crime into one of the most disturbing mysteries in history. Because whoever did this didn't just kill, they stayed. For hours, maybe longer. And when the night finally ended, the entire farm had fallen silent. No screams. No witnesses. No sign of the killer. Just a quiet house, hiding something terrible inside. And it would take days before anyone discovered the truth. The discovery at the farm shocked all of Germany. Police arrived quickly, but from the very beginning, something felt off. The crime scene was unlike anything they had seen before. The bodies in the barn had been carefully arranged, almost deliberately placed. Inside the house, everything seemed strangely normal, as if life had continued after the murders. Investigators searched for clues. They questioned neighbors. They examined the house, the barn, the surrounding land. But the deeper they looked, the stranger it became. There were no clear signs of forced entry. No obvious escape route. And very little evidence pointing to a specific suspect. But one detail stood out more than anything else: the killer knew the farm. They knew the layout. They knew the routines. And they moved through the property without leaving a trace. Suspicions quickly turned toward people close to the family. Former workers, neighbors, even relatives. Names were mentioned. Stories were told. Some claimed the family had conflicts. Others spoke about strange behavior in the days before the murders. But nothing could be proven. Every lead seemed to fall apart. And as the investigation continued, frustration grew. Because the truth felt close, yet completely out of reach. No arrests were made, no one was charged, and slowly, the case began to slip away. But one terrifying idea refused to disappear. What if the killer hadn't just known the family? What if they had been watching them for days, living among them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? As the investigation into went cold, the case didn't disappear, it evolved into something even more unsettling. Theories began to spread. Some believed it was robbery. But that didn't make sense. Money was left untouched. Valuables were still inside the house. If someone came to steal, why stay for days? Others believed it was revenge. The Gruber family wasn't well liked. Rumors surrounded them, dark secrets, conflicts with neighbors, and tensions that had been building for years. Maybe someone close to them snapped. Maybe someone they trusted. Then there was the most disturbing theory of all, that the killer had been living on the farm before the murders. Watching, learning, waiting, the strange footprints, the noises in the attic, the missing keys. What if those weren't random events? What if they were signs? Signs that someone was already inside the house, long before that night. And if that's true, then the murders weren't sudden. They were planned, carefully, patiently, and executed at the perfect moment. But even with all these theories, no one could prove anything. No solid evidence, no confirmed suspect, just questions, and a growing realization that the truth might never be fully uncovered. Because whoever did this, didn't just disappear. They erased themselves. From the crime scene, from suspicion, from history. And after all these years, one question still remains: was the killer a stranger, or someone the family already knew? Years passed, then decades. The farm it was eventually torn down, as if removing it could erase the horror that took place there. But the mystery never disappeared. Investigators revisited the case multiple times over the years. Old evidence was re-examined. Witness statements were reviewed again and again. And yet, nothing. No definitive answers. No confirmed killer. No closure. Suspects came and went. Some were questioned. Some were rumored. Some even confessed, but their stories never fully matched the evidence. Every lead seemed to break apart just before the truth could be reached. And with each passing year, the chances of solving the case grew smaller. Because time was doing what the killer had already done, erasing everything. Memories faded, witnesses died, evidence was lost, but one thing remained unchanged: the chilling nature of the crime. An entire family, living in isolation, targeted, watched, and ultimately destroyed. And the idea that the killer may have lived among them, under the same roof, before and after the murders. That's what makes this case so haunting. Not just the violence, but the silence, the unknown, the feeling that the truth was always there, just out of reach. Because somewhere in the past, someone knew exactly what happened at Hinterkaifeck. Someone walked away, and just like that, they were never seen again. Today, nothing remains of the farm where it took place. No house, no barn, no trace of the life that once existed there. Just empty land, and a story that refuses to die. Over the years, people have tried to explain what happened. They've analyzed the evidence. They've named suspects. They've built theories. But none of it has ever answered the one question that truly matters: who was inside that house, before it was too late? Because the deeper you look into this case, the more unsettling it becomes. The footprints that led nowhere. The voices in the attic. The feeling that someone was always watching. This wasn't just a crime of opportunity. It felt planned, calculated, almost as if the victims were never alone to begin with. And maybe that's the most terrifying part. Not the night of the murders, but the days before. The idea that while the family lived their normal lives, working, eating, sleeping, someone else was already there. Listening, learning, waiting, and when the time came, they struck. Without mercy, without noise, without leaving behind the truth. Because even after more than 100 years, we are still asking the same question: was the killer ever really gone, or were they closer than anyone could have imagined? This is not just a story about a murder. It's a story about fear, about isolation, And about a mystery so dark, that even time couldn't bury it. The Hinterkaifeck case remains unsolved. And maybe, it always will. Follow Productions. Love creepy mysteries and unsolved crimes. We bring the darkest true stories from around the world. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, don't miss a single chilling story. Skull Productions, where mystery comes to life.